the observation vessel Talon's Edge settled into Earth's orbit. Its advanced cloaking systems made sure the primitive monitoring systems below couldn't detect it. Commander Tae-1 looked at the holographic display of the blue-green planet with great interest. "Another death world," said Officer Suman as she looked through the early scan data. "Extreme temperature changes, violent weather, unstable ground." "And yet," Tae-1 said, "smart life has grown here. These humans have basic space travel even though they evolved on a planet that should have killed them." The hunting party of the Krell Dominion had gone to hundreds of worlds looking for worthy prey. The Krell were top predators themselves and valued challenge above all. Earth had appeared in their records as strange, a Class 12 death world that had not just life, but civilization. "Send out the watching drones," Tae-1 ordered. "Look at populated areas first, then wild regions." The first pictures sent back confused the hunting party. Humans kept meat-eating animals in their homes. Small hunters moved freely inside, while bigger ones walked with them outside, held only by thin straps. "These beings let natural hunters sleep next to their young," whispered Do-hyun, the expedition's life expert. "They must be either very brave or very stupid." "We need more information," Tae-1 decided. "Find humans who are alone. Let's see how they act when facing real predators." The Krell had evolved on a world with less gravity and milder weather. Their tall, slender bodies were covered in smooth scales that changed color based on their mood. Now, as they gathered around the main viewing screen, their scales showed dark blue patches of curiosity mixed with green streaks of confusion. "I don't understand these humans," said Gunwoo, the weapons specialist. His long fingers tapped against the control panel. "Our records show they fought wars against each other for thousands of years. They know how to kill. Yet they choose to protect creatures that could easily kill them." The drones found a small human settlement at the edge of a vast forest. The Krell watched as human children ran outside while large canines bounded around them. The animals' teeth could easily tear through flesh, but instead, they licked the children's faces, causing strange sounds the translator identified as laughter. "Perhaps the animals are broken somehow," suggested Yoon-ji, the tactical officer. "Maybe humans changed their natural hunting instincts." "Some, yes," agreed Do-hyun. "But not all. Look at this data stream." The screen shifted to show humans entering deep wilderness areas. Some carried weapons, but many did not. They walked through territories filled with venomous reptiles, large predatory mammals, and disease-carrying insects. "The death rate is surprisingly low," reported Suman. "They have knowledge of the dangers and prepare for them." Tae-1 leaned forward, his scales turning a deep purple with fascination. "Find me a human in direct contact with a top predator. I want to see how they handle true danger." The drones spread wider, searching mountain ranges and dense forests. After several hours, they found what Tae-1 wanted. A lone human female was hiking through territory marked by recent signs of a large feline predator. "Perfect," Tae-1 said. "Focus all observation systems on this area." The Krell watched as the human, seemingly unaware of the danger, set up a small shelter. She moved with purpose, setting strange devices on trees around her camp. "What are those objects?" asked Yoon-ji. "Cameras," said Harin after consulting the database. "She's deliberately monitoring the area." As night fell, the Krell's thermal imaging showed a large heat signature approaching the camp. The mountain lion moved with perfect predatory grace, stalking toward the seemingly vulnerable human. "Now we will see the natural order," said Gunwoo, his scales flickering with anticipation. But to the alien's surprise, the human didn't seem afraid. She checked a small device in her hand, then looked directly toward the approaching predator, though it was still hidden in darkness. "She knows it's there," whispered Do-hyun in disbelief. The mountain lion crept closer. The human calmly reached into her pack and pulled out a small cylinder. When the predator was 50 meters away, she pointed the cylinder toward it and pressed a button. A blinding light flooded the area, and a loud sound boomed through the forest. The mountain lion froze, then turned and ran away. "She scared it off," said Gunwoo, scales now bright yellow with shock. "With light and noise." Tae-1's scales had turned white, the color of deep thought among the Krell. This changes everything we understood about prey and predator relationships. On a death world, where everything should be fighting for survival, these humans have somehow risen above the natural order.
Should we still consider hunting them? Asked Yunji.
Taewon watched as the human calmly returned to her tasks, seemingly unconcerned that a deadly predator had just approached her. I think, he said slowly, we need much more information before we decide who exactly is the hunter here. The hunting party moved their observation drones to a remote mountain area. The landscape was harsh with sharp rocks, steep cliffs, and thick forests. The Krell gathered around the main viewing screen, their scales shifting to deep blue, the color of focused attention.
I found someone interesting, said Harin. A human female traveling alone through predator territory.
The screen showed a young woman hiking confidently through the wilderness. She wore simple clothes in earth tones and carried a small backpack. Unlike other humans they had observed, she carried no obvious weapons, no gun, no large knife. This one calls herself Ji-yun, Harin continued, adjusting the audio interceptors. Based on her communications, she's studying wildlife in this area. Commander Taewon leaned forward, his long fingers tapping thoughtfully on the control panel.
Why would she enter such dangerous territory with so little protection? Perhaps she doesn't know the danger, suggested Do-hyun, the biologist. His scales flickered with excitement at studying this strange behavior. The drone sensors detected movement on a ridge above the human.
A large mountain lion was moving parallel to Ji-yun's path. Its golden fur blended with the rocky terrain as it stalked the woman from above. This predator weighs approximately 70 kilograms, reported Do-hyun.
Its jaw strength could easily crush human bone. The female human is outmatched in every physical way.
She is unaware of the danger, Do-hyun said with certainty.
The natural order will assert itself soon. The Krell watched silently.
Based on everything they knew about predator-prey relationships across hundreds of worlds, the outcome seemed obvious.
The human would become food for the mountain lion.
Yet as minutes passed, the hunters noticed something odd.
Ji-yun periodically stopped walking and knelt to examine the ground.
She touched dirt, leaves, and rocks, then made small adjustments to her path.
What is she doing? Asked Yunji, the tactical officer.
It appears she's examining tracks, said Do-hyun, his scales now showing patches of purple confusion. Animal footprints, broken twigs, disturbed soil.
Ji-yun stopped at a tree and examined claw marks on its trunk.
She took out a small device and recorded images of the scratches. Then she pulled out a notebook and wrote something down. She's been making a deliberate path, said Taewon slowly, his understanding shifting.
Those aren't random stops. She's following signs left by the predator. But that means... Yunji didn't finish her sentence as the implications became clear.
She knows it's there, Taewon said, his scales turning white with realization. She's tracking the predator that's tracking her. The hunting party fell silent. This behavior contradicted everything they understood about prey species. In their experience across the galaxy, intelligent prey avoided predators whenever possible. They built defenses, created weapons, and used numbers for protection.
They didn't deliberately seek out apex predators while alone and nearly unarmed. Ji-yun reached a small clearing and set down her pack.
With efficient movements, she assembled a small shelter and set up equipment around the area. She placed small devices on trees surrounding the clearing.
More cameras, noted Harin.
And those others appear to be sensors of some kind. She's creating a study site, said Do-hyun.
Right in the predator's territory.
The mountain lion had stopped moving and now watched Ji-yun from its perch on a rocky outcrop.
Its tail twitched with predatory focus. The hunt will begin soon, said Gunwoo, expecting violence. Ji-yun finished her setup and sat cross-legged in the clearing.
She pulled out a small container and began eating her meal. Her back was to the mountain lion, yet she showed no signs of fear.
This makes no sense, said Do-hyun.
She should be alert, watching her surroundings. Instead, she acts as if she's completely safe. Just then, Ji-yun reached into a side pocket of her pack and pulled out a small object. Without turning around, she held it up and pointed it over her shoulder, directly at the mountain lion's location.
A small red dot appeared on the rock next to the predator. "A weapon?" asked Yunji.
"No," said Harin after scanning it.
"It's just a pointer device. It can't harm the predator." The mountain lion noticed the strange red dot moving near it. After watching it for a moment, the big cat retreated slightly, moving to a different observation point. Ji Yan lowered the pointer and continued eating. She hadn't turned around once.
"She knew exactly where it was," said Taewon, his voice filled with wonder. "Without seeing it, without advanced technology, she knew the predator's precise location."
"Perhaps humans have sensory abilities we haven't detected," suggested Do Hyun. "Or perhaps," said Taewon slowly, "they understand predators in ways we never considered."
As night fell, Ji Yun finished securing her camp. She took out a small device and spoke into it.
Day 1 of field study complete.
Subject is a mature female mountain lion, approximately 4 years old based on track size. She's curious but cautious. Tomorrow I'll attempt to move closer to her den area to set up the long-term monitoring equipment.
The Krell looked at each other in stunned silence.
Their scales had all turned the same pale yellow, the color of profound surprise. "She's not prey at all," whispered Taewon.
"She's a researcher.
And the predator is her subject." The next morning brought heavy fog to the mountains.
The Krell hunting party continued their observation of Ji Yun from orbit.
Their vessel's advanced sensors cut through the mist, giving them a clear view of the human as she packed her small camp.
"She slept in predator territory," remarked Gunwoo with disbelief.
"Without posting guards or setting defensive barriers."
Ji Yan moved deeper into the forest.
She followed a small stream that wound through the rocky terrain. The mountain lion was no longer in sight, but the drone sensors detected it moving parallel to the human, staying hidden among the trees.
"The predator is stalking her again," said Yunji.
"It's been following her for hours."
Do Hyun studied the biological readings. "The feline's heart rate is elevated. It's preparing to attack."
As the day warmed, Ji Yun found a small clearing beside the stream. She set up her equipment again, this time placing small containers around the perimeter. She took samples of water, soil, and plants, carefully labeling each one.
"She acts as if she's perfectly safe," said Harin. "Yet our sensors show the predator is less than 50 meters away." The mountain lion had climbed a large tree overlooking the clearing.
It crouched on a thick branch, tail twitching as it watched the human below.
Its muscles tensed, ready to pounce. "The attack will come soon," said Taewon.
"Let's see how she responds." As dusk approached, the light began to fade from the forest.
Ji Yun was kneeling beside the stream, filling a water container. The mountain lion chose this moment to strike.
It launched from the branch, a blur of golden fur and extended claws, nearly 200 pounds of predator descending toward the seemingly unaware human.
The Krell observers tensed.
Even they, experienced hunters from across the galaxy, were impressed by the power and grace of the attack. What happened next astonished them.
Without even looking up, Ji Yun rolled to the side.
In one fluid motion, she pivoted on her knee and raised a small device from her belt. A sharp hissing sound cut through the air as the mountain lion landed where she had been just a second before. The big cat stumbled, shook its head in confusion, then collapsed to the ground.
"Amazing reflexes," whispered Gunwoo. "How did she know?" "The containers she placed earlier," realized Do Hyun.
"They must be detection devices of some kind."
Taewon leaned closer to the screen. "What did she use on the predator?" Do Hyun analyzed the readings from their sensors.
"A chemical compound delivered by compressed air.
A sedative, not a lethal weapon."
"She chose not to kill it," said Yunji, her scales turning a thoughtful blue-green. Instead of running away from the dangerous predator, Ji Yun approached the mountain lion carefully. She knelt beside the large cat, checking its breathing first. Then she pulled equipment from her pack and began a methodical examination. "She's taking blood samples," reported Do Hyun as their sensors analyzed her actions.
"She's measuring the creature's vital signs." Ji Yun worked quickly but calmly.
She attached a small device to the mountain lion's ear, then began recording data on her handheld computer. She ran her hands through the predator's fur, checking for parasites and wounds.
"She's tagging it," said Harin with disbelief. "For scientific study."
The human spoke softly to the unconscious predator as she worked. She treated the dangerous animal with gentle hands, stroking its fur as if it were a harmless pet. Her voice was kind and respectful, though the words were too quiet for the drones to capture.
"This cannot be normal behavior," insisted Junho, the youngest hunter in their party.
His scales flashed bright yellow with agitation. "Perhaps she is different from others of her kind.
An outlier. The risk she's taking is enormous," agreed Yunji.
One miscalculation and the predator would have killed her. Ji-yun finished her examination and sat back, watching the mountain lion. She took pictures from multiple angles and collected fur samples. Then she checked the tracking device on its ear, making sure it was secure.
"She's not afraid at all," said Harin. "Look at her body language. She's comfortable being this close to an apex predator." "On our world," said Gunwoo, "we gained dominance by killing competitors. We wiped out our planet's other predators to become the soul hunters. These humans take a completely different approach." Taewon wasn't convinced that Ji-yun was unique. "Check the global information networks," he ordered. "Find more examples of humans interacting with predators.
I want to know if this behavior is common or rare." As Ji-yun continued her work, the Krell noticed something even more surprising. She pulled out a medical kit and treated a small wound on the mountain lion's paw, a wound that had nothing to do with their encounter. She cleaned it carefully and applied medicine before wrapping it with a protective covering. "She's healing it," said Do-hyun, his scales now showing the deep purple of complete confusion. "She's helping a creature that just tried to kill her."
"I don't understand these humans at all," admitted Gunwoo.
Taewon watched thoughtfully as Ji-yun packed up her equipment, prepared a small shelter nearby, and settled in to wait for the predator to wake up.
"I think," he said slowly, "we need to reconsider which species on this planet is truly at the top of the food chain."
While Ji-yun watched over the sedated mountain lion, the Krell hunting party returned to their main ship. The observation drones continued to monitor the human and her predator subject. Commander Taewon ordered his crew to gather more information about human interactions with Earth's dangerous species. Several hours later, Haren's voice came urgently through the ship's communication system.
"Commander, you need to see this."
Taewon and the other hunters gathered in the main control room. The large view screen filled with images collected from Earth's information networks. The Krell watched in stunned silence as the screen showed humans in various settings interacting with predators in ways that defied logic. "These humans are hand-raising baby tigers," said Haren, pointing to footage of people bottle-feeding large cat cubs.
"The adult version of this species could easily kill them, yet they treat the young as if they were harmless." The images continued. Researchers lived in close quarters with wolves. Divers swam alongside massive sharks. Wildlife experts walked among herds of animals with deadly horns and powerful hooves.
"They don't just live alongside predators," Do-hyun said, his scales turning a deep thoughtful blue as he reviewed the data. "They actively work to protect and preserve species that could kill them."
The screen switched to show Ji-yun speaking into a communication device.
The Krell's translation system converted her words.
"Subject F-27 is healthy despite the small paw injury," she reported to someone. "The tracking collar is functioning properly. This female has established a territory of approximately 20 square kilometers.
Her hunting success rate is impressive, nearly 40%, which is excellent for a solitary predator."
"The mountain lion is part of a long-term study," explained Harin. "Ji-yun has been tracking it for months."
"She's part of a team studying predator populations in this region."
"And the attack?" asked Gunwoo. "An opportunity," replied Harin. "Listen."
Ji-yun continued her report. "I was able to collect fresh blood samples during today's encounter.
The sedation lasted exactly 12 minutes, giving me enough time for a full health check.
Subject showed typical stock and pounce behavior.
The proximity alert system worked perfectly, giving me 3 seconds of warning before the attack. She expected the attack, said Yoonji with disbelief. She planned for it. The Krell hunters looked at each other, their scales showing a mix of confusion and fascination. This behavior contradicted everything they understood about intelligent species and their relationship with predators. I don't understand, said Junho, the youngest hunter. His scales flickered between green and yellow, showing his emotional struggle. On our world, we became the dominant species by killing all competing predators. Our ancestors hunted every threatening species to extinction. It was necessary for our survival and advancement. He gestured to the screen, which now showed conservationists releasing a rehabilitated bear into the wild. These humans have achieved space travel and advanced technology while deliberately keeping dangerous predators alive. They even help them recover when their numbers drop too low. Perhaps that's precisely why they advanced so quickly, said Taewon thoughtfully. His scales had settled into a deep white, the color of profound realization. A species that can turn deadly predators into research subjects, companions, or conservation projects has mastered their environment in ways we never considered. The screen returned to Ji-yun. The mountain lion was beginning to wake up. Instead of retreating to safety, the human remained nearby, observing and taking notes as the predator regained consciousness. The big cat stood unsteadily, shook itself, then looked directly at Ji-yun. For a tense moment, predator and human stared at each other. Then the mountain lion turned and disappeared into the forest. She didn't even draw her sedative weapon, noted Gunwoo. She took the risk that it wouldn't attack again. Or she knew it wouldn't, suggested Do-hyun. Junho moved closer to Taewon. His scales now showed bright spots of green, the color of ambition and opportunity. Commander, we should capture one for study, he suggested eagerly. This Ji-yun would make an excellent specimen. We could learn much about human physiology and psychology. Perhaps they have special abilities we could adapt for ourselves. The other Krell looked at Taewon, waiting for his response. Among their kind, capturing representatives of interesting species was common practice. Their research vessels contained holding facilities specifically designed for this purpose. Taewon's scales darkened to deep red, the color of warning and danger. His expression hardened as he looked at the younger hunter. No, he said firmly. We will not capture any humans. But Commander, any species that casually plays with apex predators as though they were harmless must possess capabilities we don't yet comprehend, Taewon said. Think about what we've seen. These humans don't just survive alongside predators, they study them, heal them, protect them, and sometimes even treat them as companions. What does that tell you about their place in the natural order? The control room fell silent as the hunters considered this question. On the screen, Ji unpacked her equipment and began hiking back toward her base camp, alone in predator territory, seemingly unconcerned about her safety. It tells me, said Do-hyun slowly, that perhaps we are not the hunters we thought we were. For 3 more days, the Krell stayed in Earth's orbit. They sent their observation drones to different parts of the planet. They watched humans interact with dangerous animals in ways that amazed them. In Africa, they saw people living among lions, studying their behavior from open vehicles. The big cats could easily jump into these vehicles and kill the humans, but rarely did. In the oceans, humans swam with massive sharks, touching their rough skin and moving among them without fear. Some humans even fed these predators by hand. In cold northern regions, scientists tracked and studied bears that could tear a person apart in seconds. They darted these animals, took samples, and released them back into the wild, just as Ji-yun had done with the mountain lion. These humans are either incredibly brave or completely insane, said Gunwoo as the hunting party watched footage of a man hand-feeding meat to tigers. On the 5th day, the Krell gathered in the main viewing chamber for their final assessment. The walls displayed images from across Earth, humans and predators in countless interactions. I've analyzed their relationship with canines, reported Do-hyun. They've transformed wolves, pack hunters similar to our evolutionary ancestors, into companions that protect their young. The transformation took thousands of years of selective breeding. They didn't eliminate the predator, they reshaped it to serve them. Some humans keep venomous snakes as pets, added Harin.
They handle creatures that could kill them with a single bite. Most surprising, continued Du Hyun, they take their children to see dangerous predators in special enclosures. They call these places zoos and wildlife parks. They use them for education. Yoonji shook her head in disbelief. On our world, children are kept far from danger until they reach hunting age. These humans deliberately expose their young to predators safely contained, but still present. On the main screen, they watched Ji-Yun again. She had returned to the research station and was preparing to release the mountain lion. The big cat was in a transport cage, fully awake now and watching Ji-Yun with golden eyes. The human opened the cage door and stepped back just a few meters. She stood in the open as the predator slowly emerged. For a moment, the mountain lion paused, looking directly at Ji-Yun. The human spoke softly to it, words too quiet for the drones to capture clearly. Then the big cat turned and disappeared into the forest. We came to this planet seeking worthy prey, Taewon said quietly. The other Krell turned to look at their commander. His scales had settled into a deep blue-purple color, the shade of profound respect. I believe we may have found worthy predators instead, he continued. Or perhaps something beyond predator and prey entirely. What do we do now, Commander? Asked Junho. His earlier eagerness had been replaced by caution. We will take a vote, said Taewon. As is our tradition when faced with a significant discovery. One by one, the Krell hunters cast their votes. The decision was unanimous. Earth would be marked in the Dominion's databases with the highest warning classification, a world of beings who had transcended the traditional understanding of life on a death world. As the Talon's edge broke orbit and accelerated toward the jump point that would return them to Krell space, Taewon recorded the expedition's final log. The other hunters gathered around to hear his words, a sacred tradition after a hunt. We withdraw from Earth not out of fear of human weapons or technology, Taewon spoke clearly. Their devices are primitive compared to ours. Their space travel is limited to their own system. Their bodies are fragile, lacking natural weapons or defensive capabilities. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. We withdraw because we recognize something more fundamental. Humans are not simply surviving on a death world, they are reshaping it according to their will. Any species that treats apex predators as subjects for study, conservation, or companionship exists beyond the natural order as we understand it. The ship's engines hummed as they prepared for the dimensional jump. On the viewscreen, Earth grew smaller, a blue jewel against the blackness of space. In our long history of hunting across the galaxy, we have never encountered a species like humans, continued Taewon. They have become something we have no name for, caretakers of the very forces that should have destroyed them. The jump point opened before them, a swirling portal of energy that would take them home. The Krell hunt for challenge and glory, Taewon concluded. But we are wise enough to recognize when we may have become the prey. Earth and its humans will remain undisturbed by us. We will spread the word to all hunting parties, this death world belongs to those who have mastered death itself. As the Talon's edge entered the jump point, Earth vanished from their view. But the lessons they had learned from watching its strange inhabitants would change the Krell forever. The hunt was over. The hunters had become the hunted. And somehow, without firing a single shot, humanity had claimed its first victory in the stars.